So yesterday when I covered Halloween Town, I mentioned one of the things that drew me to it was this personal sense of mystery surrounding it. It was this weird film that I could only remember in fragments from vivid October flashbacks to my childhood. But it wasn't the only mysterious film from my younger years that I only saw in bits and then could never find again later. There was another I only sort of recalled from catching the ending on Cartoon Network, but other than the vivid image of 4 kids eating skull candy and some zombies, I couldn't remember a single other thing about it. That all changed though during a light bulb moment that came from the unlikeliest of places when a couple years back I got supremely into the musical comedy show Crazy Ex-Girlfriend and grew interested in seeing what else its creator Rachel Bloom had put out when I came across a pop-punk song in which she sings about how desperately she wants prolific American author Ray Bradbury to bang her silly when she says this line.
You won an Emmy Award for the screenplay adaptation of Halloween Tree.
And holy shit, that was it! It all came flooding back to me. It was an animated adaptation of Ray Bradbury's The Halloween Tree. Thank you, Rachel. Once again, horny thirst has saved the day. Leave it at genitals to solve the mysteries our minds can't handle. So here we are, now in 2020, and I've just watched a Hanna-Barbera produced TV special made for Cartoon Network based on a 1972 novel I have never read that only came out a year after I was born, and I've only briefly seen maybe in clips when I was 6 years old. And you know what? Halloween Tree is bloody great. I did not expect a 27-year-old made-for-TV animated special to be anything to shout home about, but Halloween Tree's banging. I think I previously suggested that Halloween Town, Disney's effort, might be the most Halloweeniest film in this whole list, but I'm gonna have to correct myself already because Halloween Tree is the essence of this holiday. The film follows 4 kids from a small American town, 3 boys and a girl, down from the book's 8 boys, who are getting all excited for the October festivities when their 5th friend and beloved group leader, a wee ginger lad called Pipkin, doesn't show up for the celebrations. Surprised by his absence, the group go to Pipkin's house only to find him being carted away in an ambulance. Surprisingly heavy for a kids' TV special. That's gonna be a theme, by the way. The group decide that Halloween isn't going to be the same without Pipkin and make plans to catch him in the hospital. Which is of course the most unrealistic aspect of this whole movie, because obviously they would abandon the ginger kid, I know from experience. For some reason though, since they decide they actually like the redhead, Tom, the seemingly de facto leader in Pipkin's absence, suggests a shortcut through the woods to get to the hospital quicker. But what's weird is when they get there, they see Pipkin running through the forest in the distance, unresponsive to their cries, and seemingly a little transparent. But then again, he is ginger, so that could just be his natural complexion. We are paler than Casper. This isn't even makeup. They follow Pip to a spooky house that is the literal epitome of spooky houses, and I can only assume was the foundational blueprints for all spooky house architects to follow. There they find its weird owner, Moundshroud, a creepy old man with a head like Squidward, as well as his titular Halloween tree, a towering maze of branches and bark that homes thousands upon thousands of pumpkins, each carved into a twisted facsimile of a person whose soul it represents, and at the very top of the tree, there rests a pumpkin with the face of Pipkin. Turns out that pumpkin is the reason our African sunset-haired friend is here. Pipkin is a ghost and steals the pumpkin before using its magic to escape through time and space, and the gang, determined to help Pipkin, follow in pursuit to try and help their friend from whatever fate he's found himself in. Led by the unsettling Moundshroud, who definitely doesn't have any ulterior motives, the 4 friends go on a quest through time, learning about the origins of Halloween and their costumes as they do so. This is a cartoon that really captures the spirit of Halloween, along with the feeling of being a kid again. It has real big adventure vibes, and for a 1993 Hanna-Barbera production, it is dripping with the kind of atmosphere and presentation needed to pull this kind of feeling off. While the kids' designs are a little bit of a product of their time, they do have a charm all their own, and are fairly decently animated throughout. The real champion in terms of visuals though, and what for me really sells the scale of the whole thing, are the absolutely stunning matte painting backgrounds. Honestly, I would buy any single one of these just to have as a painting. Every location absolutely drips that spooky atmosphere and feels massive, with things like cathedrals and pyramids towering over our tiny protagonists, and each of these environments is often accompanied by a gorgeous orchestral score that feels genuinely cinematic, which is no surprise really when you realise the score was created by John Debney, who went on to work on a bunch of massive blockbusters. Here he really channels his inner Danny Elfman to create an audio environment filled with the kind of ominous enchantment that makes Halloween so appealing. I'm particularly a fan of the music that plays the first time the kids see Moundshroud's house. Side note, by the way, Moundshroud is voiced by Leonard Nimoy, and he is absolutely unrecognisable in the role.
Moundshroud is the name. Carapace clavicle Moundshroud. Is that not a fine name, children?
That's Spock. It's not all incredible. The film certainly doesn't do much to differentiate or develop its four protagonists. Like, the most you get is Tom is kind of the leader, Jenny is kind of the brave one, except for when it comes to heights, Wally is the scaredy cat, and Ralph, I don't know, has glasses? I mean, don't get me wrong, they're certainly charming enough to root for, but they can often feel more like placeholders that exist to drive the plot as opposed to actual children. I understand it's got a limited runtime, and it's keeping things simple for the kids watching, and they're probably right to focus on the feeling of adventure rather than the people going on it, but it's just something to note. I really do like though that the catalyst for these whole events is just how much the kids love their ginger mate. They do all get a decent fleshing out when they get a scene with him, each one of them being able to tell Pipkin just how much he means to them and how much he made an impact on their life, and that's just lovely. That's genuinely really sweet and nice, and I love it. And friends are nice, and I love friends, and that's gonna be a common theme this marathon, you can probably tell. I think one of the reasons as well that the friendship feels so good, even when the characters at times don't, is there's a genuine risk of loss for these kids. This movie is about death, like actual death, and it doesn't shy away from it. It isn't some monster that snatches Pipkin away from them. It's just appendicitis, and every time they encounter Pipkin's spirit, he seems a little closer to fading away forever, actively at points telling the kids, "I think I'm dying," as he weakly hangs on to the mortal coil his spirit threatens to fall from. It's surprisingly dark, and more importantly, unpatronising. Granted, obviously, by the end of things, everything is mostly dandy. I mean, this is a Cartoon Network TV special after all, but still, it's rare to see something this willing to just go, yeah, that kid's probably gonna die, mate. Like, we're not messing about here, he is dying. Some of the imagery of Pipkin's slow, dragged out death is even pretty frightening for a kid's show. This'll sound super daft, but there's a scene where he's tied up in web at the back of a crypt full of skeletons, and it honestly just conjured up images for me of Quelaag's sister in Dark Souls. Yes, I know, I did just compare Hanna-Barbera TV special to Dark Souls. Halloween Tree is the Dark Souls of Cartoon Network TV specials. I'm a hack, let's move on. Plot-wise, it can feel at times a little PSA-like, with all the stuff not involving Pipkin just mostly focusing on the kids learning about Halloween traditions in different cultures. But you know what? It's good. I don't even care that at times it feels a little Barney the Dinosaur. They get to go to all these interesting environments and it all feels very Halloween-y, so it works for me. And even with these occasional little sit-downs, it never really loses track of the main plotline of saving Pipkin. And spoilers, it even all leads to what I consider to be a really pretty poignant and meaningful ending, with the main cast committing to the extremely selfless act of giving up a part of their lives in order to save their friend. I love how there's just no hesitation in doing this either. Moundshroud is just like, are you sure you want to do that for him? And the kids are just like, fuck yeah, he's our mate. And I love that. I really, really do. Like, God, I know this is just a cute little kids cartoon, but that's genuinely kinda special. Friends are good, man. I think films about friends that just love each other is absolutely my kryptonite. So all things considered, this is a hell of a cute little wholesome Halloween treat. It's brimming with atmosphere and a great watch for younger viewers who won't be talked down to by it. It's probably not going to change your whole world or anything, but there's something to be said for just the genuine festive spirit of it all. Give it a watch if you can, it's a good bit of spooky fun. Happy October you lot, and remember, subscribe to my OnlyDans so you don't miss tomorrow's video. See you then.